You know that feeling, right? That big moment standing at a fork in the road of your life,
Mm-hmm.
deciding whether to take that job or maybe move somewhere new, whether to speak up or, just keep quiet. You feel the weight of it, like the choice is totally yours.
But is it? That's the huge question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because what if, I don't know, in some other reality, another version of you is making the completely opposite choice?
right. If every single possibility, if every outcome already exists somewhere
Yeah.
out there.
Hey, does your choice, the one you make right here, right now,
hmm
does it actually matter as much as it feels like it does?
That question is, yeah, it's truly mind-bending, and it gets right to the heart of this massive paradox, really, the idea of free will.
Mm-hmm.
But in a world that might be, well, kind of already set. Maybe even a multiverse where everything happens.
Exactly. It bumps right up against our deepest feelings about, agency,
Yeah.
control. And we're going to dive deep into this paradox today.
They are.
And we're using a really specific, fascinating lens. Conversations with God, the old Donald Walsh's work. The source material gives us a very particular way to wrestle with these big ideas.
So we're going to unpack some pretty big concepts from CWG, things like the eternal now, the soul's journey.
Yeah, and see how they stack up against the, let's say, philosophical heavy hitters like determinism, libertarian free will,
Compatibilism.
compatibilism, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the really wild implications of multiverse theory.
Our mission, then, is to try and navigate all this complexity together, wrestle with the seeming contradictions.
See what kind of resolution the CWG model offers up. It's going to be a journey through time, space, maybe infinite realities.
Guided by the source material, and frankly, to see if free will actually survives the trip.
Let's find out.
So let's start with the foundation CWG gives us, its view on time, on reality. It brings up this core idea called the eternal now. What does the source mean by that?
Okay, so from the divine perspective in CWG, the eternal now is basically the idea that, well, all time is now.
All time is now.
Yeah. It's not like God experiences time like we do, second by second linear. Instead, past, present, future.
Yeah.
They all exist simultaneously. The dialogue is pretty clear. It says something like, if you conclude that past, present, and future exist at one and the same time, you are right.
So it's less like rewinding or fast forwarding a tape and more like the whole tape is just there,
Yeah.
visible all at once.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. The source uses a spatial metaphor. Like, just as the space around you has both here and there right next to each other,
Okay.
the eternal now has before and after right next to each other. Time, in this view, is sort of presented as a human thing, an illusion almost, a useful one for us living in it, but not the ultimate reality.
And if all time exists at once,
Yeah.
where does the soul fit in? We're told we're this three-part being, body, mind, soul.
Right. According to CWG, the soul is the part of us that actually lives in that eternal now,
Huh?
even while our body and mind are going through time linearly.
Yeah.
And the soul's big purpose, as the source describes it, is this journey of remembering and expressing who it really is by, well, navigating life, all the events, the experiences.
And that's where reincarnation fits in, returning again and again.
Exactly. It's part of that ongoing process of remembering and experiencing.
Okay, but hang on. This raises a huge question for me right away. If the soul is in the eternal now, where everything already exists, right? All the experiences, all the outcomes. Why bother jumping into linear time? Why go through life moment by moment if the whole story's already laid out?
See, this is where the CWG perspective gets really interesting, and it tackles that directly.
Okay.
The source says we come back, we kind of dive into the timeline because we actually love the drama, the suspense, the sheer thrill of not knowing what's next in the moment.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, from the soul's higher view, all possibilities are known in the eternal pace. Now, we deliberately choose to forget that knowledge while living, just for the fun of it, for the discovery, the choice, the surprise.
It sounds like designing the ultimate choose-your-own-adventure book. You wrote it, you know all the endings, but you still choose to read it page by page anyway, making the choices like you didn't know.
That's almost exactly the metaphor the source uses. You're the author, you design the map of possibilities, you know all the potential paths, all the destinations, but you still jump into the game to play it.
To experience the path you choose from the inside.
Right, from the perspective of not knowing what's around the next corner.
And CWG really stresses that for this whole experience to work, free will has to be, well, absolute.
It's called sacrosanct. The idea is God could step in, interfere, But doing that would completely undermine the whole point of our existence, the soul's journey. The dialogue quotes God saying something like, I will never, ever interfere with that.
So we're not puppets.
Not at all. We're told we are the authors of our lives. God knows all the potential stories that could be written, sure, but we get to write our story.
So you got this divine view. Everything exists all at once in this eternal now.
Yeah.
And alongside that, you've got our human experience where we genuinely feel like we're making choices moment by moment. This setup, it already kind of hints at a way to square that circle, doesn't it? Omniscience and choice.
Really does.
It reminds me of like St. Augustine's idea. God being outside time, not predicting the future, but just seeing eternally what we, inside time, are freely choosing.
It absolutely echoes that.
Yeah.
CWG's eternal now concept on this cosmic scale provides a similar framework. God isn't predetermining your choice. God is experiencing all at once the reality of your choice, whatever you end up choosing.
Okay. Now, before we add the multiverse layer, which is where my brain starts to melt a little, let's just quickly touch on the classic philosophy debate about free will itself, just the basics the source mentions to get our bearings.
Good idea. So first up, you got determinism.
Right.
This is the idea that every single event, including our thoughts, our actions, is the inevitable result of what came before. Like a chain reaction, dominoes falling.
What's the first one goes?
Everything else is set. If you had perfect knowledge of everything right now, theoretically, you could predict everything that follows. And in this view, what we feel like is free will. Well, it's kind of an illusion. Our choices are just the inevitable result of prior causes. Biology, environment, fate, whatever.
So no real freedom to choose differently. Just cause and effect, playing out, predictably.
Then the opposite view is libertarian free will.
Okay.
This says, no, wait, at least some of our decisions are genuinely not determined. There's a real fork in the road where you actually could have chosen differently, even if everything leading up to that point was identical.
The rewind test, the source calls.
Exactly. Rewind time to the moment before the choice. You could make a different choice this time. No strings attached. This often implies there's something more than just physical cause and effect going on, like a mind or a soul. Something that lets us truly originate an action.
That definitely feels closer to our gut feeling, right? Especially when we think about moral responsibility. Like, if I did something wrong, I feel like I could have chosen not to.
It aligns much more with that intuitive sense, yeah. And then there's the middle path, compatibilism.
The have your cake and eat it too option.
Sort of. It argues that free will and determinism aren't actually enemies. They can coexist. Compatibilists often redefine free will a bit.
How so?
It's not necessarily freedom from cause and effect. It's freedom to act according to your own desires, your own intentions, without somebody or something forcing you.
Okay, so my choice might be caused by my desires, and maybe my desires have causes going way back. But if I wanted to do it, nothing external stopped me or made me do it, then it's a free choice in that sense.
Precisely. As the source puts it, it's the ability to act in accordance with one's own desires and intentions. You're free if you're doing what you want to do, basically, regardless of why you want it.
And CWG, with its picture of an all-knowing reality creator who still grants us genuine choice, that definitely sounds like it leans into this compatibilist kind of flavor.
It really does.
A grand cosmic order exists. Maybe it even includes all possibilities. But our individual choice within that order is real. It's honored. It maps pretty well onto that Augustinian idea, God seeing everything eternally, but not forcing our hand.
It does. So keep that framework in mind, this encompassing knowledge, but real choice within the experience. Because now, let's bring in the multiverse and see what happens.
Right. This is where the mind-bending really ramps up. What happens to our sense of choice, our agency, when we think about the idea that not just one future unfolds from a decision, but every possible future unfolds in separate realities?
This leads us straight into the concept of a branching multiverse.
Yeah.
The idea here is that reality isn't just one single timeline.
Okay.
At every moment where there's, say, a quantum event with multiple possible outcomes, or maybe even at every significant decision point, the universe splits.
It splits.
Yeah, like an infinitely growing choose-your-own-adventure story. But instead of just turning to page 87, the whole book splits into multiple copies, and each one continues the story down a different path.
So if I'm deciding, I don't know, whether to turn left or right, in one universe I turn left, and in another identical universe I turn right. And if both are real.
That's the core idea. It comes up in interpretations like the many worlds view in quantum physics, which the source mentions. Every potential outcome gets actualized somewhere. The source uses that metaphor of a branching tree. Each fork in the road represents a different path or outcome.
Wow.
The implication is staggering. Every possible version of you, making every possible decision you could ever make, exists somewhere on this infinite tree.
An infinite number of me's, living out every single life story I could possibly imagine. The source calls this feeling overwhelming, and yeah, I get that. Because if there's literally a version of me doing everything I could possibly do, does the me here, the one I'm aware of right now, does my choice actually mean anything? This feels like the absolute heart of the paradox.
It's the direct challenge, isn't it? The branching multiverse versus free will. If for every choice you make, another you somewhere else makes the opposite choice, then from a big picture view, looking at all these realities, well, both things happen.
The source captures that feeling so well. No matter what I do, in a different universe, I'm doing the exact opposite. And since both eyes are me, I am essentially not making a choice. It's like I am at a fork in the road and simultaneously taking all possible paths.
Oof, yeah. If that's the case, the question becomes, is free will just reduced to nil? Are we just passengers, a guided existence with many predetermined ends, just riding along one branch of a script that's playing out endless variations everywhere else?
This totally cranks up the volume on those old deterministic questions, doesn't it, about fate or God's omniscience. If God or physics already contains all the future outcomes, am I just playing a role? The multiverse makes it even starker. You're playing all the roles, just distributed across different versions of you.
And that sense of significance, it can feel like it just drains away. If my success here is matched by my failure somewhere else, does this win really matter? The source mentions science fiction, like Larry Niven's story, all the myriad ways, where characters learn about this branching reality, and some just fall into nihilism. They think, well, nothing I do really matters because the opposite is happening somewhere else anyway.
And there's that emotional hit too, right? The ego blow.
Yeah.
Thinking you're unique, this individual, and then realizing you're just one of countless versions playing out every possible move.
It's a genuinely unsettling idea if you stay locked into that big overarching perspective. So does that mean we just conclude free will is toast? An illusion in this kind of multiverse?
Yeah.
We're just along for the ride?
Okay, deep breath. This is where we loop back to CWG for its resolution, because it offers a very different way to frame this whole thing.
Right. CWG basically invites us to flip our perspective. Yes, from the outside, from that eternal now viewpoint, where all possibilities exist, maybe everything is there simultaneously. But the key move is to look from the inside, from the perspective of your lived experience.
Because within my life, I only ever experience one outcome at a time.
Right. Exactly. The source makes this absolutely central. Each version of you only knows its own path. And that path, the one you are currently experiencing, that's the one you freely choose, moment by moment. You're just the one who happens to be experiencing this branch of reality.
So the other me is on other branches. They're kind of like different people from my point of view, even if we started the same.
Effectively, yeah. From the perspective of your consciousness, they're on their own journey. Your awareness is focused here, making your choices in this timeline.
And those choices feel real to me. They have real consequences in my world. The fact that other worlds exist doesn't change that I have to decide things here and now and live with these results.
And this is where CWG positions free will within the multiverse idea. It argues that free will isn't canceled out by the multiverse. It's the very tool you use to navigate it. Your decision isn't creating a new universe out of thin air. It's more like a selection of which universe becomes your experiential reality.
Ah, okay. So the possibilities, they already exist, like a massive library full of every possible story. My free will is me choosing which book off the shelf I'm going to actually read and experience right now.
Precisely. You're not creating the library or writing the books, but you are the reader, choosing which story unfolds for you. You steer your course through this landscape of potentials. You create your personal story by choosing which pre-existing outcomes you want to actualize in your life.
Right.
The source brings back that roadmap analogy again. The map shows every possible road from A to Z. It knows all the roads. But you, the driver, the soul, you choose which road to take at each junction. Your unique journey is made up of the specific turns you decide to make. The map always knew you could take road B, but you were in the driver's seat deciding if you would take it this time.
And connecting back to that choose your own adventure metaphor, but the CWG version, God, or the higher self, is like the author who wrote this infinite book with every possible branching story. All the stories exist in the book. But I, the soul, I'm the reader who is actively making choices as I go along.
And the source emphasizes that the fact that all the potential chapters exist doesn't ruin the excitement or the reality of the choice you face while you're reading. From your perspective as the reader, you genuinely don't know what's coming until you make a choice and turn the page.
And that fits perfectly with the CWG idea that the soul actually wants that thrill of choosing, that suspense of not knowing what's next
Right.
in the moment of living.
Exactly. It makes sense of why we'd choose this limited perspective.
So CWG's model, it really sounds like a kind of compatibilism, but scaled up to the multiverse level.
Yeah, I think you could definitely call it multiverse compatibilism.
Yeah.
It accepts a sort of cosmic determinism. All possibilities exist in the eternal now or the multiverse. But it strongly defends genuine freedom at the individual experiential level, because you voluntarily choose which possibility to engage with. As the source points out, God isn't forcing you down a specific branch. You're acting according to your own will, picking your path.
And thinking about it this way, it helps with that emotional challenge too, right? Does some other me living a different life make this life meaningless? CWG seems to say, no, absolutely not, because that's not you here now. Your unique awareness is focused on experiencing this specific path.
Exactly. It's like rereading a book you love or playing a game again. You know the whole story exists, but the experience of this particular read-through, this playthrough, is unique and meaningful on its own terms. And maybe there's even comfort in knowing all possibilities are held safe somewhere in the eternal now. Like nothing is truly lost forever. No possibility is completely missed. The soul might get to explore all of it eventually, but right now, your attention is on this one path you're choosing.
And your choice isn't meaningless just because alternatives exist elsewhere. It's eternally validated, as the source says. Every choice you make is made, and the alternatives also get expressed somewhere. But you still have to exercise your will to decide what your experience is going to be.
And what's really fascinating is the purpose CWG assigns to this whole setup. The source talks about the grand why behind it all.
Which is?
It's for God, or the all, the higher self, whatever term you use, to experience every single aspect of itself. Life, with all its choices and variations, is basically God talking to God, experiencing God through us.
Because God might know everything conceptually, but wants the actual experience of it.
Precisely. Free will is the engine that makes that happen. It allows the living out of possibilities, turning abstract knowledge into concrete, felt experience.
Wow. So seen that way, our choices aren't small or insignificant at all.
Not even close.
Yeah.
They're incredibly meaningful. They're literally how the universe gets to know and experience its own infinite potential. Every choice adds another thread, another color to that rich tapestry of the eternal now.
So free will, far from being an illusion in this model, is actually, it's almost sacred. It's the engine of creation within creation.
That's the picture CWG paints, yeah. Does it hold up philosophically? Well, the source suggests it's at least internally consistent given its starting points. If you accept the eternal now and the soul making free choices within it, then the idea that choice is about navigation makes logical sense.
And it does seem to resonate with some of those older philosophical solutions like Augustine's for squaring omniscience and free will. It gives an answer to, could I have done otherwise?
Yeah, the answer is sort of yes, in another branch you did, but that doesn't make your choice here any less real or authentic for you.
The whole debate can obviously get incredibly tangled, but the CWG framework does offer a coherent way through it. It manages to say yes to both this grand, all-encompassing reality, the eternal now, the multiverse, and yes to genuine individual freedom by placing them at different levels, the level of potential versus the level of actual lived experience.
Well put.
Okay, so bringing it all together then, where do we actually land on free will in an eternal multiverse looking through this CWG lens?
I think the landing point is you do have free will, even if all outcomes exist out there somewhere, because your free will is your conscious experience of choosing and walking this path right now. And that experience is fundamentally genuine. It's real to you.
We're not just puppets playing out a script. In the CWG language, we're creators. We're bits of God, free to decide who we are, and by doing that, we create our life story by choosing which story unfolds for us.
And the fact that the eternal now hold every possible story, it doesn't cheapen your individual story. If anything, it contextualizes it within this infinite potential. It enriches it. It's like that improv theater analogy the source uses.
Right, the director knows all the scenes that could happen.
But the actors, the souls, get to improvise and choose which scene plays out tonight on this stage. And each performance is unique. It's meaningful.
Life is just constantly giving us these chances to express ourselves, to experience the divine through the act of choosing.
And here's maybe that final thought to chew on, pulling straight from the source material. From one perspective, yeah, whatever you chose was maybe meant to be. It always existed as a possibility in the eternal now.
Yeah.
And somewhere else, another you chose differently. Fine. Yeah. But here and now, in your conscious awareness, you are the one deciding which story becomes your story.
That choice feels incredibly real. And it's how we co-create our reality with the divine moment by moment.
And maybe knowing that makes you a little bolder. A bit more willing to trust yourself and take the path that calls to you, even if it's unknown. The soul came here for that mystery, that suspense of choosing.
Yeah.
Embrace the adventure. Trust yourself. Your free will isn't some illusion. It's the absolute star of the show in your corner of the multiverse.
And in this view, you really can't get it wrong, because every path, every choice, it all eventually leads back home, back to understanding who you really are, your connection to everything. It's free will and destiny somehow woven together.
It is definitely a mind-bending and maybe a wonderfully freeing thing to think about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive today.